Hi, Dean. Congratulations. Well done. It was brilliant. I was just listening to your television interview, and you said you had some hard chats with the guys and some of the senior players. How much can you reveal of those chats? What kind of things were said?
Just purely about, I'm not going to reveal everything because of what happens in this team stays in the team. But purely basically, after losing the first test, we knew we were going to be up against it and needed guys to stand up from a character point of view. We needed guys to make a bit more of a conscious effort and be a lot more aware of the position that they have within the side, purely to bring the best out of their player. And ultimately, bringing the best out of the player will obviously influence the environment. So yeah, I'm glad, very, very relieved and very, very thankful of the guys responding the way they did. This was a proper squad effort. I can by no means pinpoint out guys. Sure, a few individuals did exceptional things as well within the series. But going forward, this has always been a squad effort. Even to the guys that didn't play, they stood up in the right occasions for us. And yeah, it was those chats will obviously stay within closed doors.
Thanks.
Dean, congrats on a marvelous series against a formidable Indian cricket side. Can you just talk us through briefly the highs and lows of the series for you?
Sure. You're putting me on the spot there. I think there have been so many lows, especially with regards to the first game. I mean, losing the first game of a home test series is never ideal. I think it's a South African trait that we always start slow, and we almost have to be 1-0 down to actually wake up and realize that we're up against it and our backs are against the wall, and guys responded beautifully to that. Highs are obviously personal performances out of guys like Keegan, Marco Jansen, KG, Lungi. At times he brought his part as well. Guys like Temba showed such a lot of great qualities with regards to batting and composure and being calm, and almost gave you that peace of mind knowing that he's at the crease and things are under control and things will be okay. Lows are obviously a few little discipline things on-field discipline things that we need to obviously rectify. Our extras was something that was a massive concern for me. Luckily, that didn't bite us in the backside. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a few days to actually sit down and break everything up and give me a bit of time to reflect, and obviously give me a bit of time to try and become better in those areas.
Hi, Dean. Well done. Dean, we could hear some of the things that were being said on the stump mic while you guys were batting, and I assume you could hear them as well. What did you make of that, and just sort of the whole thing around the DRS and the unhappiness? And I mean, was it quite fun sort of seeing them implode like that?
Love it. It was obviously maybe a team that was under a little bit of pressure and things weren't going their way, which they obviously quite used to of late. Bit of test match cricket pressure, I would think. I think that obviously gave us a little bit of a window period, especially yesterday, for us to score a little bit freer and obviously chip away at the deficit that we needed, or the target that we needed. So I think it worked out well in our hands. It played nicely into our hands that for a period of time they actually forgot about the game, and they were challenging a bit more of the emotional side of what test cricket has to offer. Yeah, it's extremely happy that it happened that way. But be as it may, we still had to execute our skills yesterday and today with the bat, knowing that the wicket's playing a little bit into the bowler's favour, and we needed to be extra disciplined out there and execute our basics the best that we could have executed it throughout the series.
Yes. Hi, Dean. Congratulations. In the recent past, you guys have been prone to a few batting collapses, but in the last two tests, the way under pressure you guys chased, when a wicket fell, immediately there was another good partnership. Was that what would you put that down to?
I would. Well, are you talking about the collapses or us doing better?
You guys doing better in these last two games, and the chases especially.
I think it's guys taking responsibility. I think that ties into the conversations I had with the team prior to the second game. Guys taking responsibility and valuing their wicket a lot more. I think a lot of few soft dismissals and lapse of concentration, and those kind of errors hinder your series. And ultimately, I think that's what got us the loss in the first game. But yeah, I'm very, very happy that the guys responded well. They responded to the respect within the side that's being given to the guys that have to fulfill those roles, especially from a batting point of view. Yeah, it just shows that the characters within our setup are willing to learn still. They don't play with ego, and that's a great thing for me. Being able to speak to them openly and knowing that they're going to take it on board and it's going to be constructive chat. And yeah, I think that's ultimately them just taking a lot more responsibility, them respecting their batting position, and obviously respecting their wicket and valuing their wicket a lot more.
Hi, Dean. Obviously, a big series like this will teach you a lot about yourself as a cricketer, and in your case, it will teach you a lot about yourself as a leader. So what have you learned about yourself as a leader, and what are you looking to do better? In the next series against New Zealand, purely as a leader. Thanks.
I'm not going to think too far with the New Zealand series. Obviously, we've got great references now. What's happened the last few weeks within our setup. A series win is always something great, and we'll do it injustice if we don't reflect on the good times as well. You generally tend to reflect on just the bad times, but you need to reflect on the good things that you've done as well. So yeah, and sorry, I forgot the first part.
Just about what have you learned about yourself as a leader? What do you think you add in your journey so far? I mean, like, this is your third series, as a captain of the side.
Yeah, I think my skin is pretty thick when it comes to on-field matters and matters that value the team in a big way. I'd like to think that I'm pretty complimentary when it comes to dealing with certain and every individual within the squad, which is something that I maybe lacked in my younger years, and now maybe being a lot more experienced, I've gained that kind of people skills that I lacked, and I'd like to think it's something that I'm still going to work on and grow on as a human, and obviously use it to my best ability from a captaincy point of view. Yeah, I'd like to think that the pressure situations is always a tough one, especially when you don't have bat in hand. You can't control anything that's happening out there, and that's something that's I've kind of managed pretty well. That I don't want to show my emotions too much on camera. So I think from that point of view, it's something that I've learned a lot, and I've had to learn it quite quickly. I haven't had a lot of time to actually sit down and bottle everything up and kind of park it for a bit. But yeah, I think from a captaincy point of view, it's definitely helped me from being a little bit more calmer with regards to not panicking too soon.
Hello, Dean. Just on batting in the middle, the first innings, the Indians were quite vocal when they sort of had you guys under the pump, under pressure, chasing their first innings score. They riled up the players with hand claps. Some of the guys joined in from the dugout, from the seats next to the field. How difficult was it not to have the crowd here to drown them out when they were doing that? And are you hopeful that eventually when you guys return from New Zealand, you will have that again, to just sort of hush the opponents?
One thing that I do regret from the series is that we didn't have the crowd. I think the crowd would have experienced two amazing test matches, if not in South African cricket in history, in the Wanderers and now in Newlands. For a young team to come out and chase pretty challenging scores against a very, very well-oiled bowling attack is something that I think the crowds lack. And obviously after the Wanderers heard about it, how much people actually missed that. So hopefully that definitely does come back. The crowd at Newlands would have been electric. The crowd at Wanderers would have been electric. I think we would have had full houses here for our support. And obviously that is almost like our extra player that we have on the field. The crowd is always supportive of the Proteas when you're playing at home. And that's definitely it's another arrow in our armory that we usually use in the past with the crowd just being able to be on your side, especially things are a little bit tense and you can feel the pressure. The crowds are pretty responsive when it comes to that in South Africa. They're pretty brilliant when it comes to that, actually. So yeah, that was a bit of a letdown, not knowing that there's going to be crowds, and hopefully in the future there are, because there's a lot of young guys in our squad that would have experienced, I think, their best crowd support over the last 2 tests, and I've experienced that. I've been fortunate enough to experience that in the past. And you can draw so much out of the energy of the crowd, and it almost gives you an extra gear to playing against really, really tough opposition. But be as that it may, I thought we coped with the pressure brilliantly. I know there was a stage, as mentioned, when they got their dugout to obviously start clapping hands, and they were supporting them quite often, and rightly so. I mean, they're entitled to do that. So yeah, it would have been great having crowds supporting us and watching us.
Once again, Dean, great performances from yourself and the team as well. Hopefully you stay with me for this question. So I found that over time, over time, sportsmen evolve over generations in terms of how you deal with the criticisms, right? Both senior players and in the public. The sense these days is that, like in other sports, that younger players find it harder to deal with senior players' criticism as well as public criticism. Now, with yourself having mentioned in the TV interview that you are old school as you are with a bit of new school, is this something that you think exists, or you found that it exists within the team? And if it does, how do you guys deal with that? How do you deal with that as a leader? And how do you guys deal with that as a team?
I think firstly, you got to have a mutual respect within the squad. You got to have a mutual respect with every individual player. And that's a two-way street. That enables you to have the conversations that we've had in the last few weeks, and the players need to take that on board. They need to understand that I'm not there to manipulate them. I'm not there to try and do their career injustice, because I need them to be operating at a level that is which is respectable at this level of Test cricket. If you want to be the best, you need to operate at a level like we have done over the last few weeks, but you need to be pretty consistent around that. I'd like to think I've got a pretty good relationship with everyone, be it the oldest player to the youngest player. I'd like to think I connect with them in a pretty good way, a special way that guys know that, what Dean's doing this for the right reasons. And I think that comes into the buying process that the players have to obviously give to the message that I speak of, or the message that I try and echo throughout the change room. But I think it boils down to respect. You need to respect each other. You need to, irrespective of your age, irrespective of how long you've been playing this game. We're all playing for one cause, and that cause is to win. We're all playing for another cause, and that's playing for your country. We all want to influence it in our own different respective ways, bearing in mind that the team's way is the only way going forward. It sounds a little bit harsh, but I mean, if you want to be the best, you need to have that skill, which is a unique skill to have. And it's definitely a skill that I know a lot of guys have started developing as this process of our journeys has continued. So yeah, it's a tough one. I'd like to think I'm not offending anyone by the language I use or by the words that I speak. Just purely knowing that I'm there to motivate and influence this group.
I was doing very well done. I'd like to know, when you look at a Wanderers equation of 240 on a difficult pitch and you do it, and then you come here and a couple of days later you're facing a similar scenario, how much does the value of that Wanderers win? What does that mean when you're trying to win a game in similar circumstances again?
I think momentum is the word that jumps out. You need momentum on your side when you play in a tough series. It's difficult to gain momentum when you don't have it. We know playing against quality opposition, they're not going to give you much of a sniff. So when that sniff's there, you need to capitalize on that. You need to make the most of it. You need to obviously work your backside off to try and make sure that momentum doesn't slip. A few times within the series, momentum did slip, and I thought we were pretty well oiled and pretty professional when it comes to sniffing in those kind of small moments that became big moments, and we played those moments out brilliantly. So yeah, I think the momentum is something that we gained from Wanderers. confidence is another thing that jumps out just thinking about it now. I think confidence, especially from our batters' point of view, we haven't had a lot of that. But I think showing the guys that, you know what, these guys are beatable. They're also human beings. We are human beings playing a bloody tough sport. And you need to get that confidence within your setup. So yeah, I would say momentum and confidence is a big thing gaining out of what we've gained out of the Wanderers victory.
I want to ask about Marco Jansen. Brilliant debut as a youngster, first series. What is your expectations of him going forward with regard to his career roadmap and his load management, etc., etc.?
Yeah, look, he was always a bit of a doubtful selection with regards to if he's going to play in the final 11. I think with his attributes that he has, his strengths that he has, obviously being tall and he can bowl 135 and he can bowl a lot quicker than that as well, which is a huge strength for him. I think his bounce and his presence, his intimidation that he has, that he brings without saying a word, is a massive strength for him. I see him going only in one direction, and that's up. And hopefully he understands that. Hopefully he respects what he's achieved throughout this Test series, because I think his career's come along in a massive nature. He was brilliant for us, I must say. First Test series against India, that can be a little bit daunting for a guy. And he tends to operate in a little bit more of a mature manner. I know he's only 21 years old, but I'd like to think the way he conducts himself on the field, the way he speaks and communicates with me, is one of someone that's played quite a few tests and he's been around for quite a few years, which is also another great attribute to have as a young player. He's also a great team man as well. He's always there to have a laugh with the guys, and I don't think he takes himself too seriously, which is also another tick in the right box for him. But yeah, I'd like to think that Plunky's going to have a bright future for South Africa.
Hi, Skipper. Congratulations on winning the series. My question for you is that after being 1-0 behind, you have won next 2 matches and eventually the series. Where do you think was the turning point for you people in winning the series?
I think there were a few turning points. I'm going to have to go into the second test. Building up to the second test, there's a turning point we had, not even from a cricketing point of view. We had a conversation in a group. We had a tough chat for maybe an hour, and I think just the learnings out of that helped us to almost get the appreciation factor back within with wearing the badge on your head that I currently have now. There's on field there was a lot of turning points. I felt. I think KG's spell that he bowled at the Wanderers, where I think he got 3 wickets within not a lot of overs. He turned the intensity up on the Indian players, and you could almost feel and sense that, you know what, this is a period where we can really strike and get that momentum back on our side. Obviously chasing 240 odd at the Wanderers was also a massive confidence booster for us. So I think that was another phase that we could reflect on and use to our advantage. And then obviously this test match, we never went lying down. We always fought, and I think that's a great characteristic for us to have. We never laid down to the Indians. We always played within our game plan, which I think is a good strength of ours to have. We never veered off things. Guys didn't go into their personal bubbles, which can sometimes happen. And that was my job, to make sure that we don't go into those personal bubbles, because you need 11 guys out there to be on the same page and fighting for the same cause. There's a few things. I guess if I sit down and think a little bit deeper about it, I could answer your question a lot more accurately.